I finally went and did it. As is in the channel description, and as I've said before, I work for HP, and I've been using manufactured computers from them for quite a while, even before. I used to do custom builds, but I haven't done any for quite a while. Mike and Frankie both have custom computers. I've been running a HP Z-Series workstation, which was great until we tried to fit a Titan X in it and learned that we couldn't. They're really designed for graphics design people, architects. It's obviously a workstation. Dual Xeon machine, but not the best if I want to put a gaming graphics card in there and have a dual system that I can use for gaming and also render for the channel. So it is going away, and we are looking at building a new machine. So this is going to be an overview of what we're doing with it. I'll go ahead and pull up the parts picker list and kind of go over everything component by component, why we did it. The reason is the goal of this machine is to be able to be good at gaming. It's not going to be the most cutting edge, fastest of everything machine, but good at gaming everything we want to do, and also be able to do a good job rendering our videos and things, and have expandability for storage so that we can store a lot of this, the data and a lot of the video we have, because it adds up quick. So this is what we're looking at. The first part is the AMD FX 8350 4 gigahertz 8 core processor. Here's a link to Amazon with it. A lot of people have asked why AMD versus Intel, why the FX 8350 instead of the newest version, and we have quite a few reasons that we didn't go that route. Mike has the new 9000 series FX chip, and in his machine that's running a Titan X, and he hasn't seen a huge performance boost between this one and his brand new one, and the cost difference is over $150. So it's not worth buying that newest FX series. And to me, the actual physical cores on the AMD are actually better for what I want to do than what a comparably priced Intel would do. Again, we're not going for budget PC build here, but we're trying not to break the bank. I'll actually show how we can actually get this build to under $1,000, which is pretty reasonable. So that's what we're going to build it around. I'll put a link to a couple of the videos that made us decide to go that route. Let me see who those were from. We're looking at a couple of videos from Linus Tech Tips on that, were the main reasons we went that route. So then we need a motherboard to put it on. We've decided on the Gigabyte GA990 FXA UD3. Main reasons here, I really like the port setup on it. I need USB 3, more support for the fronts, good set of USBs in the back. I also like the Firewire. I still have some stuff that I use that for. This board has good reviews. Again, Mike has used it in one of his older systems. This is by no means a new board. I'll put a link to a review from Jay's 2 cents from, I believe, 2 years ago. Then it was much more money, but it was much more cutting edge. Now it's kind of mediocre. But for the money, it's pretty hard to beat. $131. It may even be cheaper on a couple other things. So that's kind of why we went with that. The other reason is, as you can see right here, it is generally all black. And I'll get more into that again. We're not going strictly for budget. I kind of want everything black and green. Green is my favorite color, and I don't want everything red or blue like everybody wants to make it lately. So that's what we ended up with. Decent for overclocking. We can run dual SLI. If I remember correctly, this one won't do 3-way, but the most I'll ever do is probably 2 video cards anyway, so that's not a big deal. and that's what we ended up with. Again, kind of a combination of our color choice, performance, and the fact that we are already familiar with this board makes it a pretty good option. Case is next. This is actually a Newegg for cheaper than this right now, but the sale only lasts for a couple more days. But this is the Corsair Carbide Air 540. I'll put a link. Singularity Computers did a very nice overview on this. This is a pretty cool case, kind of new as to the way it's set up, and it'll fit what we want to do really well. It's going to show off the black and green setup we're going to have through here on this nice side window. It's got a huge cutout for if we do water cooling, which is most likely going to happen on this build. And the only thing I'm really going to change is on the front right here, right behind those grill, it has two Corsair 140 fans that have white LEDs. Again, the theme is going to be green, so I think the next spot I'll show is I'm going to replace those with green LED fans. Again, it's a pretty slick case. We're going to do a build on it, show the video, but the side here above the power supply, that is where your SSD cages, your drives, and the power supply all go, so everything's hidden. So cable management is pretty nice in here. There's a shot of those two fans that will be replaced with the green LED fans, and then this side of it, all you see is your system board and video card. The other bonus to this is your video cards line up directly behind these fans. So while we're going to water cool the CPU, we're going to leave an air cooled GPU in there, but we're going to get pretty low temperatures because of the card we chose, and also we're going to have some awesome airflow straight from the front of the machine right out the back, and it's directly over that video card, so that should be pretty good setup. So again, the next one is just a set of Corsair 140 LED green static pressure fans, a twin pack, because I'm going to take those two front white LEDs out, put these in there. Probably use the white LEDs in the build, but I'll show you where those are going to go afterwards. So that's real quick, $30, good fans. Noctua, I've heard, are better. I can't stand the ugly brown color, so we're going to go with Corsair. I really like Corsair. Sticking with Corsair, we got 16 gig set, two 8 gig sticks of DDR memory. Small thing on here, we went with the timing is important, and also the fact that I'm only going with 16 gigs. The board will support 32. The system I have now has 24 gigs, and I can't get anything to even use the 24 gigs. I can't even get anything to use past 12.5 gigs. So for now, we're going to go with 16. I'm doing it on a 2 DIMM setup instead of 4, so that down the road, if something comes out that I will actually use 32 gigs, we'll up it to 32. Again, sticking with black, we have the black heat sinks. I'm a little disappointed that Corsair puts these nice black heat sinks on here and has green PCBs, but fortunately the green PCBs will probably be hidden by the brackets where the DIMM slots snap in on the Gigabyte system board anyway, so hopefully we just won't see them. So there is that. Next, we have the Corsair. Again, I like Corsair. We have a Corsair case, we have a Corsair power supply, we have a Corsair RAM, and I have a Vengeance keyboard. So this is the 850i. Good power consumption, good power rating. If we go back to this, I don't know how accurate this is. It's telling us we need 403 watts. I'll put a link to Jay's 2 cents video about choosing the right power supply. There's a reason, cost-wise, I don't want to go up to a 1200 power supply because I'm never going to use it on this machine. Mike is actually going to end up with one in his because he wants to run dual Titan X's. that's going to need 1200 watts. This one's not going to. Right now we're at 403 with the one video card. I may add another one, so that would bump it up. We're going to also be adding more hard drives and things like that, so we do need some headroom there. So I don't want to go much lower than an 850. The HX series is actually on sale right now, and so we'll be going with that instead of some of Corsair's lower series. This is a really quiet power supply and real high efficiency. It's a platinum certified, so that's why we end up with that one, just because of the timing is right on it. We're going to end up getting a good deal on it. Otherwise I'd probably drop down a step in power supplies. Now we have the heart of a machine, as it were. Reason being is how Link, a video that was very interesting. They took the exact same machine, and I tested an i3, an i5, and an i7 on it with the same GPU to see what their performance was. And we ended up with the almost identical performance. Sometimes the i5 outperformed the i7 even in the benchmarks and in actual gameplay, showing that a lot of things now are pushed more towards your graphics processing unit and not your CPU. With that in mind, we're going to go with the GTX 970 Gaming. This is the 100 million edition from MSI. It has an amazing cooling system on it, and Tech Syndicate, I'll put a link for their video as well. They have the 960 version of this that they were able to overclock out of the box to some amazing results with the stock cooler on it. We're going to leave the stock cooler on this, so between the cooler on this and the cooling in the case, we're going to look to get at least the 980 performance out of it, and we will see how that works. In this same build, after we're done and benchmarked it, we'll go ahead and put Mike's Titan X in here and compare the 970 overclocked in this build to a Titan X to see whether you go with $340 or whether we go with a $1,000 Titan X. Obviously RAM is a big thing on this versus the Titan X, but the cost, you can buy 3 of these for the cost of a Titan X. Most I'll ever do, I may look at purchasing another one of these to have SLI set up as well. But for now we're going to go with one, and it just seems to be a real solid card. I do prefer NVIDIA over AMD when it comes to graphics cards, so that's why we have the NVIDIA here. Now that's kind of the end of the core of the build. If you want to keep it as budget, which we partially are staying budget on this, that's where it would be. You take an SSD you hopefully already have and a hard drive you already have, and you're pretty much done. Everything else you already have in the build. We'll be using a Western Digital 3 terabyte green for the storage on the machine, but using an SSD to run the operating system and games and things like that. I would recommend a Samsung 850 EVO from the research we've been doing. I'm going to wait because I already have an SSD and its benchmarks are almost the same as an EVO. I have a Kingston SSD now that is pretty close to an EVO. I'm not going to see a big difference by going to the EVO. So I'm going to hold out for a few months until the PCIe SSDs come down in price, and we'll go with that instead in order to take advantage of that 10 megabit per second transfer rate instead of 6. So if you don't have a drive though, what you'd be looking at is right now, bang for the buck, solid performance is a Samsung 850 Pro. You could go with 128 gigabyte for $100 or 256 for $143. I have a 128 right now in my system. I found that it's a little small even with just games and stuff, so I'm gonna go with 256, 512 possibly. But it is what it is. If you need to get an SSD to take advantage of the speed of the system this build is, this is the one we would recommend right now. Here's the link to the Western Digital Caviar Green. We're doing 3 terabyte drives. We're gonna have one. We have one right now. We'll probably end up with 4 total when this is all done. But for now, that's the hard drive we would use. The other thing that is not necessary, but we will be using, is the Ragentech Triton all-in-one liquid CPU cooler. Again, I said that I love Corsair. I like their products. I like their support. And an H100 would be a great way to keep our FX cool. But it's all black and everyone's used it. And we want to go green. So this is what we're going to try. Okay, so this is the PC part picker list for everything we talked about, including the storage drives. Now, if we take this and we want to do a budget conscious build, again, this wasn't necessarily budget. We don't want to break the bank, but we do have some aesthetics we want to reach and also some performance we want to reach. So this is kind of a middle of the road in our opinion. If you needed to do a budget build but still wanted to have this kind of as your core, if we go in here, we'll switch this over. I built this as well. We can go with the same AMD FX 8350, the Gigabyte GA990 FXA UD3 system board. We can get the 16 gigs 2x8 of Corsair Vengeance, along with that MSI GTX 90 1 million edition video card. And again, sticking with the same case, like I said, it's got a little better price on Newegg than, and your 850 watt power supply. You can get it down under $1,000 by getting rid of the hard drives, the water cooling, and the fans. The fans were $30. Those are strictly aesthetic. Water cooling, you don't necessarily need it. If you're going to overclock, you do want it, obviously. FX 8350 though, it comes with a decent CPU cooler. And if you can use your older hard drives, then you can build this for under $1,000 and then add those things on later. So that is another option, another way to go with it. So again, here's our part picker for the low end one without storage and the water cooling. If we go to Amazon and do the exact same build, we end up with $1,055. No rebates or anything to send back in. So it's going to put you pretty close in price if you just want to order everything from Amazon in one shot. So again, if you have any questions or ideas about the build before we get started, hopefully this is going to go up about a week before everything comes in. Feel free to let us know in the comments. If not, we will be building it as is and putting some videos up as we go through to see how it turns out. The Corsair should turn out pretty cool. I'm excited about that 540 case. Right now I'm running 2 Radeon 4000 series video cards, so it's going to be great to get a GTX 970 in there. And again, we'll be able to benchmark that against Titan X in the same machine to kind of see what you're getting bang for your buck there. So that'll be interesting as well. So if you have anything else you'd like us to try out on this build, if you want us to do a comparison of air cooling versus water cooling on that GPU or CPU, anything of that nature, let us know. We're going to let you know how that 970 overclocks. 99.9% sure we'll get 980 performance or better out of it, and we'll see how everything goes from there. Thanks for taking the time to watch this, and we will talk to you soon.